this is a tremendous victory. Well, for the governor himself, who actually as a state legislator was opposed to the nuclear plant in his own district, as well as the thousands of people who have been protesting this nuclear power plant. Can you talk about the significance, how this was finally shut down?
You know, it certainly is a victory for the legislature in Vermont. You remember that vote back in 2010 was 26-4. It was pretty darn near unanimous to shut the plant down. Now, it took 3 years, but it was citizen pressure that got the state Senate to such a position. So my hat's off to the citizens of Vermont for applying pressure to the legislature for years that culminated in this 26-4 vote. The straw that broke the camel's back is economics. 5 nuclear plants have been shut down this year. We came into the year with 104, and now we're at 99, and the year isn't even over yet. These small single-unit nuclear plants, especially the ones that are like Fukushima Daiichi, are prone to more closures in the future, because it just makes no economic sense to run an aging nuclear plant. This one was 43 years old, and to invest hundreds of millions of dollars more to meet the modifications related to Fukushima Daiichi.
So you think that the closure of Vermont Yankee might lead to subsequent closures of the 99 remaining plants?
Well, there's a paper out by Dr. Mark Cooper at the Vermont Law School, and he predicts that as many as 30 nuclear plants are on the cusp of shutting down because of economic considerations. A nuclear plant has 650 employees, as Governor Shumlin said, but the real comparison is against a comparable plant. A comparable plant of a fossil plant would have 100 people. So the cost to keep a nuclear plant running is extraordinarily high. The nuclear fuel is not as expensive as coal or gas, but in comparison, all the other costs are extraordinarily high. So there's a lot of downward pressure on plants like Pilgrim, plants like Hope Creek, and those in New Jersey, that Oyster Creek, that was hit by Sandy just 6 months ago. There's a lot of cost pressures that likely will shut down, another dozen nuclear plants before this all shakes out.
Arnie Gunderson, before we move on to Japan, I wanted to ask you about this not only being a victory for the people who've been opposed to nuclear power in Vermont, but a real defeat for Entergy and what it tried to do, how it tried to circumvent the people's will, the Vermont legislature. Can you explain what it was doing and why the court was so significant in this?
Well, after the legislature voted to not to grant a license to continue until after 2012, Entergy had promised to reapply for a license to continue for the next 20 years. The legislature in that 26-4 vote said, no, we're not going to allow you to reapply. It's over. A deal's a deal. We had a 40-year deal. Well, Entergy went to first the federal court here in Vermont and won, and then went to an appeals court in New York City and won again on the issue, as they framed it, that states have no authority to regulate safety. And they successfully argued that. But the position of the state was never about safety. I was involved in the evaluations back in 2009 and 2010. And when we found safety problems on the panel that I was on, we immediately notified the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. Our goal was to look at the cost of Vermont Yankee and the reliability of Vermont Yankee as an aging plant. That got muddled up in the legal arguments, and Entergy prevailed. But I think by closing the plant, ultimately Vermont prevailed anyway. It's likely that won't get appealed to the Supreme Court, because when Entergy pulled the plug, the entire legal process has been mooted.